Hi, Greg Pruitt here, president of the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, and thank you for joining me. How does the ISA operate day to day? Well, let's go back and give you some historical perspective on how we started and kind of where we are today. In 2012, when I started the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance, I was going to school full-time at Boise State University. I was still in the military, so I was working full-time on Gowan Field, which is a military base in Boise. And I was also a full-time family man. So I was busy. I was very busy. And so then we started the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. And it didn't become a nonprofit for a couple of years after we started, but we basically did all the things that a nonprofit gun rights organization would do. And from the beginning of the organization, it was me doing all of the work, all the regular day-to-day stuff, on top of trying to push constitutional carry, which was the primary issue that we were founded on. And so on top of drafting white papers and talking to lawmakers and doing radio interviews and planning rallies and doing all that kind of stuff, then I was also doing any of the day-to-day operations as well, from learning how to make videos, learning how to edit videos, doing social media, and trying to figure out various ways to reach new gun owners, running email programs. I think the only thing I didn't do that somebody voluntarily helped us do at the time was run a website. Like, I had no idea how to do that. So it was that way for a really long time with the Idaho Second Amendment Alliance. I did everything. We would have volunteers that would come in and do stuff once in a while, but for the most part, it was me. And even our direct mail program for a little bit, our internal direct mail program, was ran by me and my family. Here's a picture. Let me show you a picture of my wife. I want to say this is when we lived in Middleton, and we were just up late at night doing direct mail, reaching out to our donors that we had, trying to tell them about what was going on and all that kind of stuff. So it was that way for a really long time. The first thing we really hired out for with the ISA to get help on was a more expansive direct mail program, because I didn't have the equipment to do it. I didn't have the knowledge how to do it. And so we hired Midwest Freedom Enterprises. And before we even did that, we actually went through a competitive process of getting quotes from the Boise mail shop, the big Boise mail shop, the Spokane mail shop, and then also Midwest Freedom Enterprises. And guess what? Midwest Freedom Enterprises was, I want to say, about 20% cheaper than going through these other commercial programs. It was way cheaper. And so, being the good stewards that we are of the donors with the ISA and their money, we went with the cheapest option. Not only that, but Midwest Freedom Enterprises, which is run by the Doors, they do gun stuff. And so we thought, well, they also, on top of knowing how to do this stuff and doing it cheaper, they also are gun guys. And so I don't have to worry about the Boise or the Spokane shop losing our mail or something like that going on. And I'm not saying that they would. That was just part of the concern back then. But at the end of the day, it was cheaper to go through Midwest Freedom Enterprises. And that was the only thing we had help with. And when I say we, I mean me. That was the only thing I had help with for a long time. 2012 through probably 2022 sometime, when we had Midwest Freedom Enterprises also help us with social media. Look, at the end of the day, when I'm doing social media and video editing and all this other kind of stuff, that's time I don't have to focus on legislation and all the events that we're trying to do and the projects that we're working on. I can't do that stuff when I'm doing the day-to-day administrative stuff. And that becomes taxing. It's a lot of work. I don't think a lot of people understand how much work goes in behind the scenes to make all of this run. It's not easy. There's a reason why, number one, the attrition rate in politics is extremely high. Very few people will make it as long as I have made it. It's tough. It's a lot of work. You deal with death threats. You deal with attacks on your family. You deal with attacks on your personal character all the time. You deal with lawsuits. There's just so much crap you deal with that most people quit long before you make it as long as I have made it. And number two, the divorce rate in politics is also extremely high. My wife, Kristen, whom many of you know, has stood by me and the ISA and the gun owners in Idaho from the beginning. She has never wavered. She has always been there. She's always been helping. whatever she can do to help, she is always helping on top of raising our 5 kids. So, I mean, she puts in so much work. And so when I tell you that the ISAA is a family operated nonprofit, it basically is family operated. We have done all the work for nearly the entirety of its existence. Now, someone's brought up like, well, what about in 2023 when $90,000 went to this company called Midwest Freedom Enterprises out of New York? What was that all about? That was probably the 1 year. Okay. And there's probably actually some months in 2022, I think, when we hired them to do video editing, to help run our social media, to continue to do our direct mail program. We hired them to do bookkeeping. I mean, there was so much stuff that I just said, please, for the love of all that is holy, somebody take some weight off my shoulders. I can't keep doing this forever by myself for time and all eternity. Like, it's just not a thing. We've got to have some help. So on top of doing all the administrative work, by the way, that company, Midwest Freedom Enterprises, also raised us a good chunk of change during that time. So there was a huge trade-off. Like, yes, we were paying them a big chunk of change to help with all the administrative work we had to do, but they were also raising funds in a way that we hadn't raised funds before. So there was a big trade-off in having Midwest Freedom Enterprises help us during that time frame. Now, we're back to 2024 and beyond. It's back to me and my wife, Kristen, and our family running the operation again. We've learned a lot. We've learned how to do a lot more things more efficiently ourselves, which has freed up some space and some time a little bit. But for the most part, it's still us, guys. It's been us from the beginning. Yes, from time to time, we hire companies to try and help us do things. I think the only thing we hire out right now is somebody maintaining our website. Like, that's it. Other than that, it's back to us running social media, doing the video editing. My bookkeeping is hired out, I should say. I've almost forgot about the bookkeeping. A couple $100 a month, and somebody keeps our books for us. It's fantastic, because I was doing the bookkeeping on my own. Again, we were doing everything on our own for a very, very long time. We had this a little over a year and a half or whatever it was, where we hired a company to try and help us do all this stuff. And ultimately we just went in a different direction. We wanted to go in our own direction and try to keep things in-house here. So including, by the way, the direct mail program now my wife, I'll hire my kids, to pay them a little bit of money to help stuff envelopes when we're in a huge rush to get this stuff done. Other than that, it is us. It has always been the Pruitt family giving everything that we have for gun owners in Idaho, from pushing constitutional carry to pushing Stand Your Ground expansion, Second Amendment Preservation Act expansion, preemption stuff, rallies, banquets, gun shows, TV interviews, radio interviews, all of it, all the stuff that we have done over these last 13 years now have all been for you guys. And yes, we try out various things to try and make the programs work better and more efficient and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, we always take care of our donor dollars. We always have, we always will. And I mean, it's just a fun family run operation. I was like fun. We use fun loosely because oftentimes it's just pure stress nonstop. Like this job will probably kill me far sooner than I would normally die if I went and worked a quote unquote normal job. Somebody inevitably is going to say, well, Greg, you're just in it for the money. Boy, if you knew how wrong that was, and how look, if people have that concern, that's fine. I'm not trying to demean your concern about, whether I make a salary or don't make a salary as the president of a nonprofit gun rights group. I have a master's degree in safety and occupational health. I could easily go find a job making $100,000 to $200,000 a year with the degree that I have. I could easily. I could have given up doing this gun stuff a long time ago. I took an oath. When I served overseas in Iraq and eventually got out of the military, my oath is for life. And I'm going to defend the right to keep and bear arms because I see that as the most important right that we have. If I wanted money, I would go get a normal job. I would live longer. I would have more money. I would be way less stressed and deal with way less bullcrap than I deal with now as the president of the organization. But you know what? Somebody's got to do the work, and I'm happy to do the work on behalf of Idaho's gun owners. So I hope you guys, I hope that clears up any confusion and clears up some of the lies and all the garbage that's going on out there. Look, we're under attack. The ISA is always under attack. It's just the nature of the beast. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you. Take care. God bless.